Am I the butthole for refusing when my friend wanted to join my fiancé and I on our first trip together? I 22F and my fiancé 23M are going on our first trip together. I'm really excited as this is my first time on a plane, and even leaving the state I've lived in my whole life. We've been planning for this trip since earlier this year, and we've gotten our tickets as well as accommodations. Altogether, we've already spent about $4,500 on everything, which has been something we've been saving for as we're both college students. Our trip is in about a month, and in comes my friend, we'll call her Ashley 22F, who's been my friend for about a year. She'd brought up going to Japan as well, kind of jokingly, when we told her about the trip. I didn't think she was serious, but then she brought it up a few more times, even saying that she had a family member she could stay with. She asked if she could spend some time during the days joining us on our adventures while this family member was at work. I was supportive of this idea, as I know this would be her first time to Japan as well, and I care about her. However, all of a sudden, she told me she wanted to get the tickets, but her family member no longer would have space for her to stay. She wants to know if she can stay in our accommodations and join us on our flight back home. I let her know that our accommodation has strict rules against having more than 2 people, and there's only one small bed in this studio. She said she'd be fine sleeping anywhere on the floor or couch, etc. I told her that I'd feel more comfortable if we didn't chance a fee or getting in trouble in general, as I really just want a comfortable stay. I told her that we're still willing to spend time with her during the day, and I began sending her accommodations in her budget. I was hoping this would be enough. Instead, she's just asking if we can cancel our accommodations and pay for larger accommodations that can have a bed for her as well. Mind you, she's not saying she will help us pay for the more expensive accommodation or anything else for that matter. She simply just wants to stay with us and for us to pay for a different accommodation. It seems like no matter what I say, she just keeps trying to manipulate me into letting her stay with us. This is also hard because I know my fiancé, and I really wanted this to be a romantic trip for us both, as we likely won't be able to afford another for a few years as we finish school. I'm just stuck on what to say or do, and if I'm the butthole here, should I be okay with my friend staying in our accommodation and joining in on our trip? Update. As I'm reading the comments, there's a lot saying that I should be upfront about it being a romantic trip. When I first told her about the trip, I did tell her this is basically going to be our honeymoon. I may have said it jokingly to her, but I did mean it. My fiancé and I have been talking about going to Japan since we got together 8 years ago. I thought this honeymoon comment, as well as me bringing up activities like making our anniversary cake at a shop in Kyoto, clearly set the tone in which I planned this trip to be. I do agree that I should clarify that this is a romantic trip, but I feel uneasy that she'd receive this well, as she shut down all my logical reasons. I was hesitant when she brought up spending some time with us, but I thought maybe it was just something nice to do. I get that's a romantic trip, but my fiancé was fine with it and supported her coming along on some of the more normal things like going to Universal, since it was only going to be a few days of our trip, like 4 out of the 30+ days we'll be there, that she'd want to be with us. She originally said she'd only be in Japan a week, and she'd only need to be with us while her family members at work from 7 a.m. 5 p.m.-ish. But now, things have changed, and she's saying it could be longer. I do have trouble with boundaries, and I always want to be the one helping people out when I can, which doesn't seem to work out for me, but I'm working on it. But, as she has been pushing for the last few hours, no matter what I say, I've been getting more upset. I just didn't know if I was being selfish towards a friend in need. Now, I can definitely see that this was probably the plan all along, and she isn't in a tight spot. She just wants to use us. This realization does hurt, as I thought we had gotten really close in our shared major, but I guess she really doesn't care about my feelings like I care about hers, cause ultimately I just didn't want to hurt her. She recently got dropped out of our major, so I thought she was just really sad and needed a pick-me-up. Update 2. I ended up refusing for the 10th time, but told her no bluntly and as clearly as possible. As you guys have said, No was a sentence used. I also made sure to say that I wasn't down with changing anything and that I want to spend time with only my fiancé. That I've been trying to nicely say no, but I don't appreciate getting manipulated nor having my partner's and I's feelings ignored. She said, "We've been talking about this trip for so long. Why didn't we just work it out earlier? It's not my fault that this is last minute. Why won't you just do this one? It's not much different, but there's an extra bed." And sent me a link to a specific accommodation, where the 2 beds are side by side. Just by the way, I'm weirded out. She basically ignored what I said, so I have ignored her since. We're in the same friend group, so I think it's probably going to get weird. But honestly, I'm okay with that. Regardless of how that goes, my fiancé and I will be going alone and not meeting up her or anyone anywhere during our trip. I'm going to work on the saying no thing and setting harder boundaries. I just had an abusive upbringing, and I'm still working on it all. I keep needing to remind myself that I'm not in that place anymore. Next story. Am I the butthole for refusing to tattoo at my cousin's wedding? So a little to my background, I am a tattoo artist. I've done an apprenticeship the first year of tattooing. I work as a tattoo artist for 4 years now, and I opened a studio recently. Me and my family are invited to a wedding that is taking place in another state. My cousin is marrying, and we got the invitation a few months ago. Time has moved forward, and now the wedding is in a week already. Out of the blue, my cousin, let's call him Matt, texted me with something along the lines of "You're gonna tattoo me on my wedding day." I was a bit confused as I never even thought of bringing my equipment, since I also didn't plan a guest spot or anything. Guest spot is a tattoo artist working at an other studio for a few days or weeks, mostly in a different area to grow the clientele. I jokingly asked if he has a machine, as I still hoped that he wasn't serious. He then just asked if I don't have one, and that one machine wouldn't take up that much space to take with. I replied that I didn't plan on bringing my equipment, that in fact contains more than just a machine color, hygiene stuff. Stencil, that's the purple stuff you put on the skin to then trace the tattoo with actual needles, etc., and that I'm not prepared to tattoo at a wedding of which I don't know anything about layout of the location. Is it in city, outside, and so on. He then said that he had planned on this, and that it would mean a lot to him to both get a tattoo on his wedding day, and that I'd be the one to tattoo him. Remember that this is the first time I'm hearing this. I again tried to explain that I don't feel comfortable with that, and that it's quite short notice as I work until me and my brother fly over to attend the wedding, and a tattoo needs to be designed first, right? He saw my message but didn't reply anymore. This morning my mother called and she was furious. She asked why I couldn't pull my crap together and just tattoo Matt. I told her what I've previously told Matt as well, but she didn't want to hear it. She just said it would mean a lot to her and Matt's family if I'd do that, and that it could be my wedding gift. Then she hung up. I talked to my brother about it, and he just shrugged it off and said it would be nice of you though. I'm unsure what to do now. As I said, I'm not really comfortable with the whole situation, especially because I've never been guest spotting, so I never had to travel, let alone get on a plane with my equipment. But is that just selfish? I mean, it would mean a lot to apparently everyone, and I'm just saying no. Edit. I do have an actual wedding gift already, as they sent out a wish list with their invitations. There was a point that said artwork, because they recently moved into a bigger house, and apparently they want random artwork to decorate. I oil painted them a painting I spent several days on, so I also don't plan to give him a voucher as a gift. Maddie doesn't have any tattoos as far as I know. I don't know what my mom's problem is with all of this. I think she just wants to keep the peace. Update. So the last hours have been a lot. First of I called my mom, and wow, she asked me again, this time very friendly, if I want to tattoo Maddie at his wedding, and again I said no, with all the reasons I've previously given her plus some of the very good points you guys had. Before she could say anything else, I added that I felt like she wouldn't take me and tattooing seriously. She didn't say anything for a bit until she tried to explain that she really thought it wasn't a big deal. I told her again that it is, and that my mom of all the people should know how my job works. She agreed and apologized profusely. I then asked her if she'd like to attend and watch me work on a client's appointment, and to my surprise, she said yes. Mom is tagging along tomorrow. Now to Maddie, or rather his bride. I finally got hold of the bride, let's say her name is Becky, and asked her about the request her fiancé confronted me with. She seemed surprised, as she apparently had heard from my aunt that I made them something for their new house. She assumed it would be a painting since I'm the artist of the family, and it's known that I also paint. I confirmed that, but that Maddie has come forward with this out of the blue and that it's not a good idea for many reasons. She agreed with me immediately. I think she does have tattoos. She thanked me for telling her, as no one else did. Becky seemed really mad, but she seemed to pull herself together. I would have lost it. I'm assuming Becky confronted Matt after our call, because only 3 to 4 hours later, I checked the family group chat and there was a message from Becky. There will be no ceremony on the 13th as Matt and I decided we aren't getting married. Matt and I have things to figure out, so please text or call us tomorrow if you have questions. For the rest of the day, we'll be on flight mode. After dinner, Becky called me and apologized for Matt again. She said it was a stupid idea of his and that he just thought it would be cool. She then informed me that she still wants me to fly over for the wedding day, as she will be hosting a party instead of a wedding. Everything is paid for anyways, and she doesn't want anything to go to waste. I asked if they broke up. Not yet, but I'm gonna stay at my sister's place until next week. I'm assuming Matt hasn't been too great, but I'm sure I'll hear about it. Apparently my brother and my mom aren't invited. Lol, my call must have been the last straw, but as far as I am concerned, Becky is handling it gracefully and Matt will be okay too, I'm sure. So I'm going to a party, but did I just make a new friend? Thanks y'all for having my back. Update 2. Welcome back. I'm finally done writing this. Thanks to everyone coming back and reading this. I appreciate y'all and Louv that you are enjoying the tea. So because a lot of you wanted to know how the Bring Your Mom to Work day was, I picked her up in the morning and we headed to the studio. I showed her around, told her a few background stories about some of the artworks and photos that are hanging on our walls, and explained her my routine as I prepared everything. My client arrived and I handled it like I usually would, just with my mom sitting there. Lol. I explained every step of the process, and she also asked me questions about my ink, needles, technique, etc. It was a lot of fun having her around, and she really did surprise me with her openness and interest. When I was done with tattooing, my mother had to leave for work, but thanked and hugged me for bringing her along, as she not only enjoyed spending time with me, but also loved seeing me doing my job so professionally, and said that she sees my work and efforts now. To the wedding party. The party started at 14 as the ceremony was cancelled. I arrived and was immediately welcomed by Becky's sister. She hugged me and helped me with my painting. Everyone was outside, drinking and having a small bite already. I went to say hi to Becky and she hugged me warmly. She seemed tired but otherwise fine. Becky was also smiling a lot, which surprised me. I went to mingle as I didn't want to start off with questioning her. Lol. I met a lot of her friends and apparently the most of them weren't too fond of Matt. I heard a few things of how he tried to change Becky to be more like his ex and stuff like that. Not a great look, Maddie. Speaking of, not a single friend or relative of Matt was around, besides me and one other cousin. Later, as we sat down to eat, I asked if could join Becky's table. They said yes, so I was sitting with Becky, her sister and 3 of her friends. I introduced myself to one of them, haven't talked to him before, and Becky added that I'm Matt's cousin, the one who was supposed to tattoo. A simultaneous "oh" came from everyone. And with that, the conversation was about Matt from the get-go. I asked what happened. The sister just rolled her eyes and was like, what didn't? Becky and friends told me. A while ago, Matt has apparently started to pick on Becky for being herself in various ways. It started small, like asking her to change her sports routine from workouts to only running. Then he criticized her cooking as he prefers to eat more meat and more traditionally. They discussed these topics and it always seemed fine, but he didn't stop. He asked her if she couldn't let her hair grow or get extensions, and speaking of hair, if she couldn't get them bright. Becky has shoulder-long black hair. More and more seemed to pile up until he also started to make comments along the line of, "Can't you be more like my ex?" As I understand it, he didn't say it specifically, but it was clear he meant it like that. His ex is from Texas. I was shocked. I asked why she didn't break up because of that, but Becky explained that in the situations it didn't seem as bad as when you list those reasons. She had also made a few changes to make Maddie happy, but continued to do what she wanted most of the time. Time went on and the issues resurfaced again and again in different ways. The last big fight was only a few weeks ago, when Maddie called Becky by his ex's name. They somehow settled this, so let's skip forward to when I called Becky about the tattoo idea. After our call, she went up to Matt and asked him why he didn't talk to her about it and why he would just decide doing something like that on their wedding day. He explained that he wanted to surprise her and stuff like that. Becky went on telling him this wasn't happening and that she wanted to be able to enjoy the wedding and their honeymoon. Again, they seemed to agree in the end, and he apologized. But later this almost threw me as Becky was starting to cook dinner and Matt was sitting at the counter. They talked about tattoos again, apparently really chill discussion about tattoos in general, and Becky asked him playfully what he intended on getting tattooed. He gestured across his chest and said, "I want my birth date. Our wedding date and your birth date. So insert his BD 0613.24. Insert BD." Becky said she went blind for a millisecond. That third date was in fact not her birthday. She asked him again and he repeated the same dates. She then said that this isn't her birth date. He persisted that it was and that she should stop trying to fool him. She said she started to cry and ran to get her purse to show him her driver's license. That's when his face slipped. He tried to get out of it by making excuses that he isn't good with dates, etc., but Becky just went straight to her phone and checked Facebook. She found his ex's profile showing her birthday. It was the date he would have gotten tattooed on his chest if I hadn't said no and also called Becky. My dumb cousin would have ended up with the birthday of his ex-girlfriend next to his wedding date. Becky said he more or less told him it was over and that this is enough. She started to immediately reorganize the whole wedding and honeymoon while kicking him out of the house. A bit later, she called me back. She also mentioned that she didn't want to say what happened on the phone as she thought I might tell my family, and she really didn't want to hear about it. Fair, I get that. Becky changed the honeymoon booking and is now taking her best friend. Also, if you're wondering, Becky's dad is currently the owner of their house, as they agreed to slowly pay him back. Due to his financial wealth and stability, that made more sense this way. As far as I know, Becky is going to stay there. Anyways, that's the tea, folks. This was truly a wild ride, and I am pretty sure Becky and I are going to be good friends. We really hit it off. I don't have much dignity left for Matt, so I'm not sure I'll keep the contact at all. P.S. Becky loved my painting. Next story. I think my marriage ended today. I think my husband forgot our wedding anniversary. I'm not surprised. I really feel like he's checked out. We've been married 3 years today, together 6. It's halfway through the day and he hasn't acknowledged it at all. I bought us cupcakes and I'm going to stop for flowers and a card on the way home. I'm sure he's going to come home with nothing, act shocked and apologize, or just brush it off and go to his phone. We've had a dead bedroom since we got married. I can't remember the last time he complimented me unsolicited, calling me hot, sexy, or beautiful, but he can like the photos of IG models in bikinis. 2 years ago, I got dressed up in lingerie. I felt insecure because I had put on some weight, but I felt sexy in it. He came upstairs, saw me, and said he was hungry and went downstairs to eat dinner. He left me upstairs for an hour. After he finished eating, he just stayed there. We could go weeks without sex if I didn't push for us to do it, or ask permission to have sex that night. He doesn't initiate meaningful touch and affection with me anymore. He will shower affection on our pets, including in front of me, but can barely stand to touch me, it feels like. He works ridiculous hours, And even though I asked him not to pick up a second job when his hours changed because long working hours were impacting our time together and our intimacy, he went out and got another job. We went out for my birthday this weekend. After encouraging me to have another drink, he asked me if I'd be willing to drive us home. He was tired because he chose to go on a sunrise hike that morning and ended up not sleeping for a full 24 hours. I didn't drive back. I can't remember the last time he bought me flowers for an occasion or just because. He used to leave for work in the morning by giving me a kiss or tucking me back into bed. Now he just leaves without a word. We have been dealing with MFI for 2 years because he chose to take anabolic steroids for years, which made him nearly sterile. He lied to me about steroid use multiple times. He has now been off them for some time and his counts are improving. I am pausing if right now. He didn't tell me about his immigration status and the fact he had been previously married until a year and a half into our relationship. He complains about the same things all the time, and when I offer solutions, he doesn't listen. I'll often also say something, and later he'll parrot it back like he came up with it myself. This is especially true of his medical issues that he refuses to follow up on. We're doing couples counseling. I gave it as an ultimatum in March, after he threatened to divorce me for a second time since we've been married. I made it his responsibility to follow up on the counselors and identify providers. He did, and then never booked anything. It wasn't until 3 weeks ago when I asked him about it that he said, "Honestly, I haven't even thought about that." I also love the jokes, i.e., he says something that makes me upset or hurts my feelings, and then says, "Relax, babe, I was joking." He used to be a thoughtful gift giver. He used to be affectionate. He used to look at me like I had stars in his eyes. I've begged for more intimacy, more touch, more affection, more sex. I feel like I am coercing him into sex now, and that he doesn't even want to do it with me. He just does it with me to get me off his back. I do 90% of the housework, all of the finances, and all of the vet care for our pets. I recently told him I wanted him to step up more, and he told me that he'll do stuff, I just need to tell him. I told him, I do things that I see need to be done. Me having to tell you what to do does not alleviate the stress off of me. He stepped up for one day. My mental health is in shambles. I think I'm a fat, worthless piece of crap. I'm not. I'm a little overweight, but I work out regularly and I'm curvy. My depression and anxiety has amplified to levels where it is impacting my day-to-day life. I'm sorry for this dump. I'm just tired of all of this. I'm realizing today how little I matter. I think I've finally checked out. I'm done initiating, done babying him, done managing him, done mothering him. I think my marriage ended today. Yesterday was our 3-year anniversary, which was celebrated with a huge fight. Today, I confronted him about his social media activities. We've had a dead bedroom for 3 years, and I practically have to claw affection out of him. He's been liking half-naked thirst trap photos of women for the past 2 years of our marriage. These are women that are insanely fit, have huge breasts, and post pictures with their butt hanging out. He has also lied to me in the past about things like his previous marriage status and his anabolic steroid use. I confronted him twice about the steroids, and he denied it up and down. Only later did I find out I was right. I told him today I wanted to see who he is messaging on social media, and he refused. At one point, he called me crazy. He said if I can't trust him, we're over. I told him I don't trust him. He absolutely, steadfastly refused to let me see his phone. I told him if he does not show me, that tells me he has something to hide. He tried to tell me he liked the girls' photos by accident, and the only one he actually did was liking the photos of an OnlyFans creator. He also used the excuse that other girls have made him do that before, and it made their relationships go to crap, and that he has never asked me to see my phone before. I said the reason he has never asked to see what's on my phone is because I've never given him a reason to question my loyalty. He just left with his wallet and an overnight bag. I don't know where he's going, and I don't give an F where he's going. I felt so guilty confronting him because he came in the door excited to see me, but I'm tired. Even if he came home and showed me his phone, I know I can't trust what I find on it because he probably deleted it. Additional information from OP. He came home. It turned into the nastiest fight of our marriage. He's basically said he wants a divorce. He doubled down to his usual argument of, I'm the worst, I can't ever do anything right. He says I always do everything right and he's always wrong. So I pointed out his years of stonewalling me and emotional abuse, and it set him off. He told me to shut up. I told him F you. I slammed a door really hard. I admit that wasn't okay. He yelled that I need help like psychiatric help. I'm now in the bedroom and he's in the living room. I hate my life. Update 1. We ended up going on the weekend trip together. We went on a long hike and a good time. We took photos together. We came home. I feel empty and broken. He's now keeping his phone face down at the house. When I asked him if maybe he could post a photo of us from our trip on his Iggy, he said he would. 2 days later and nothing, even though he's been scrolling away on Ig daily. I asked him last night and he gave me a I will babe without looking at me. There's no evidence of me on his Ig since 2019, but he does have me all over his FB. One of the girls I called him out on as following and liking her sexy pictures has suddenly gone private on her social media. She's also following my husband and has over 20,000 followers. She lives several states away according to her posts. I am so pathetic. I love him and I'm so desperate to rebuild any feeling of trust or love we had at the beginning of our relationship and our marriage. I feel like I am literally going crazy. This is all that I can think about every day. I had nightmares last night that he left me for that girl. There's times that he shows genuine affection, like he was excited to hold my hand going into the store the other day, and when he took care of me the other day when I was sick. But I still have this pit in the bottom of my stomach that something is wrong. Yet here I am still. I wish he felt the drive to have his hands all over me, that he couldn't keep his hands off me, that he still got me flowers unsolicited, that he commented on Snapchat photos that I sent him with enthusiasm over how beautiful I was, that he sees sexy photos of me that I send him and runs to the bedroom. I'm met with lukewarm enthusiasm or completely ignoring me. I'm also his sponsor for immigration. We had a genuine dating relationship and got married for genuine reasons. I feel guilty if I'm the reason he is deported. I am trying so hard to make this work, and I feel like he just doesn't care. I didn't leave him in March when he threatened to divorce me again, and he didn't give a crap about my ultimatum of couples counseling or I'm leaving. He didn't care for months. He doesn't care to post me on his social media. All I want to do is starve myself so I can be as thin as those girls he likes on social media. Fix my face so I look as perfect as them. Get my boobs done like theirs. Shut off my emotions and just not feel anything anymore. Know the truth so I'm literally not driving myself crazy anymore. I feel like he stopped loving me or caring about my needs a very long time ago. And I don't know why he's still with me if he doesn't want to put any effort in. I know you all are going to be angry at me and think I am pathetic. I feel the same towards myself. Update 2. I posted earlier today and got rightfully roasted. I backpedaled on my original post. Went on vacation together this past weekend. Realized nothing changed after. I also shared that I am currently sponsoring him for immigration, and we are at the point of getting his waiver processed. I had a lot of self-pitying crap in that post too. Wishing I was hot enough like those IG models, because maybe he'd want me then. I literally spent most of today on the cusp of a panic attack. I deleted my update from earlier today because I just couldn't handle all the comments that came in, especially how quickly they came in. I was not mentally in a good place. I really appreciate everyone who was kind and supportive, and also those who told me, "Girl, what the F are you doing?" I was weak for deleting the post, but I really appreciated the quick outpouring of support and advice. Something in my gut this afternoon told me to Google him. I found a lawsuit against him from earlier this year because a debt went to collections. It was not a small amount. I confronted him about it, and it turned into a whole BS thing. I signed up for a legal website account so I could view all the docs and print them. He tried to tell me he didn't want to stress me out, which is why he didn't tell me. Y'all, he hired an attorney behind my back and admitted he got his second job so he could pay off the debt so I wouldn't know. I almost lost my mind. I think I grew a little bit of a spine today. When he tried to justify, I shut him down. When I used the words "lied to me," he corrected me and said he technically didn't lie. He just didn't tell me. When he threw out a suicide threat, I ignored it. When he told me he was done and threatened divorce again, I asked him if I should take him seriously this time, and he told me to do what I want. I confronted him about the IG stuff again, which pissed him off. I pointed out one of the models he is following suddenly turned her account private right after I confronted him last week. Also pointed out again how low T doesn't make someone like only thirst trap photos, yet ignore his wife. Pointed out how he likes their butt photos, but ignored any sexy photos I sent him. Told him I can count on my hands how many times we've had sex this year, and that I initiated every time. Couldn't handle it, so he left on his bike with an overnight bag. F off. He just drove back for whatever reason. I heard his stupid bike revving in the parking lot. Maybe I'll go back out and flip off our Ring camera again because he likes to check it. He just drove off again. I reached out to a friend to talk to them about this. I need to finally be real with someone about all this and not shoulder it alone. My grandma died in March while I was holding her hand. I hope a little sliver of her strength is hiding in me somewhere, and that she gave me some of her strength when she left. She survived an abusive marriage and went on to have a beautiful life. God, please give me the strength to stay resolute. I buckled last time, and I don't want to this time. I deserve so much more than this. Please let me keep this spine I grew today, and let me grow an even bigger one. Additional information from OP. OP, I also pulled out my Codependent No More workbook that I haven't touched in 6 years, and started it last night. I'm going to take out "Why does he do that?" and finish the next chapter this weekend. My therapist has been awesome coaching me through all this. I have a standing appointment with her, and I am looking forward to her support next week. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel James Stories.